this big election coming up and two very different candidates. So it's a good time to talk about government and oversight or overreach, regulation or reputation, and when does a government help and when does it overstep? And there's clearly no real answer, and every human out there is going to have a different opinion. Um, on my island, St. Thomas here, we have rolling power outages. The power plant essentially is in debt, has no money, government has no money to fund it. It's a chaotic nightmare. So one solution. So I have a company that builds solar farms and leases them out to the governments, local municipalities. Done it in the Netherlands, Japan, first world countries. Um, they need the money, so we go fund it. They pay the lease, saves them a lot of money up front, saves their taxes they can use on whatever else, and then they just pay a monthly fee and they use all that power, whatever power it produces. Pretty nice little setup. The company builds it. They make their money on their investment. The government gets it cheaper. It's solar, so it's cheaper than virtually almost everything else. As long as it's in a nice sunny spot with plenty of power, they get as much as they can produce. So it could be as low as 3 cents per kilowatt hour or 3 cents per kilowatt, and could be as expensive as maybe 16 cents if it's really cloudy, etc., etc. So, good solution would be to open that up here, but we have a problem. There's actually a solar farm here on island, but the laws here say that there only can be one central power source, which is called WAPA, the power authority. And so the solar farm, they sell their power to WAPA, and then WAPA distributes it amongst the island. But WAPA cannot fix things, can't pay its bills, it can't even have enough fuel. So right now, for probably about the last 6 months, there have been rolling blackouts. Some people don't have power for days, and WAPA just says we can't afford fuel. We have no money for fuel. There's not enough fuel, and you kind of scratch your head like, well, seems like something that could be fixed with an order. Oh, okay, so you have no money. So if you have no money, how does this work? And so now this solar farm that does, I think it's about 8% provides about 8% of the power here. They're owed like $2 million, like 10 months. They charge like $200,000 a month, and so they're going to turn it off. Which, I mean, they put in millions of dollars and they're not getting paid. So why would they continue to let people do that? So they're owed, I think it's like $2 million, and so they're going to turn off their solar panels, which will take away about 8% of the power source. Right now, the power company can't even afford to pay fuel to keep power on, everyone's lights on all the time. So these rolling blackouts. And so now we've got this proposition to, to get a federal oversight board. So the answer, which I'm the opposite, I think the answer is to open up, privatize, dissolve the law making WAPA the sole provider, allow solar companies. I mean, we have solar in houses; it's right there. But allow places that can't get solar on their house. I mean, actually, the government really should just buy all the solar panels on everyone's house, get rid of their power plant, and I mean, you basically would switch your employees all to panel maintenance people, and then you just lease those out to the customers, and they have a flat fee, and they take as much power as they can. Most houses in the world, especially here on an island, get enough sun and have enough space to put enough power panels to provide for their general use. Most. That would be one option. But instead of so now people on the island, they want to add a federal oversight board. So say 5 to 7 people from the U.S. federal government are now going to move down here, be paid their wages. So that's going to cost us an extra $200,000, $300,000 a year, whatever their wages are, to oversight the power company because it can't run itself. And to me, that's mind-boggling. And that's going to be, I'm like, why are we getting more government when our government can't do anything? This makes zero sense. We're also a territory, so it's interesting. We really have some America, and we have our own IRS, we have our own DMV, so we kind of don't really have American services. So this might be a first for the island. We do have like DEA, we have CBP customs, We have, I think we have Coast Guards. We have some American services, but most things we do on our own. So it's like, so we're answering poorly run government by adding more government and costing more money. And to me, I'm like, well, why are we paying 5 people to oversight a company of 40 or 50? Why are we just not hiring better CEOs? Like, I mean, there's a board of directors already on for WAPA. Why are we not taking them? Why are we blaming the CEO that's been there 6 months instead of the board of directors, and then trying to hire a federal oversight board? It's like, how bureaucratic can we get? And so I guess some people's thoughts are more government solves problems. I definitely don't see any examples of that. I think less government. I think we should just scratch WAPA, install solar panels on every house, and the government can make money off of that for the rest of their lives. Or put in big panels, or let private companies, if the government doesn't have money or has bad credit and can't get a loan, let private companies come build solar farms and sell it to their residents at 16 cents a kilowatt versus the 32 cents that we pay right now to WAPA. So let me know what you think. More government, less government? Where's the overreach? Where's the oversight? Where are they simply adding to it? It kind of reminds me of, the stock market back in the day. So there used to be so many public companies, like this is in the 90s, and right now I just read it's about 42% of what there used to be. There used to be thousands of companies public. Now there's like 42% of that, and a lot of it comes from the required quarterly reports. So in public companies, they're required to have quarterly reports with their earnings, this and that, and then analysts, they project their next year's earnings, and if they hit it, great. If they don't, they grow. So essentially you have to grow each quarter, hit your earnings, or beat your expected earnings, and then the next quarter they project you're going to go this high, so you have to go beat those. And so and business can't do that. In the 90s, there were a few big companies that did it for a decade, but they had unique accounting practices and other ways to do it that are no longer valid. And so here's another question. So it does make sense. The quarterly reports are basically to open up transparency for everyday investors like you and I, right? You can go on the call, you can get the call recorded and be like, okay, this is what they did, this is their earnings, these are the new things they did. Okay, quarterly report, cool. I understand what's going on with the company that I have shares in. And so that's what the government passed that law trying to do, right? Instead of the people that spend all day on Wall Street, all the rich people that focus and do all the research, they wanted everyday investors to have some sort of transparency so they can kind of see and learn about the company that they're buying stocks in. And it wouldn't be just privileged information just for the rich. Makes sense. But then they created this whole, I guess, culture of, oh, these expected earnings. Okay, did they beat them? No, stock price goes down. So now all these CEOs have to go make sure they always beat the expected earnings. And every quarter they're doing all sorts of things, crazy things. But a lot of those decisions are short term for 3 months. You may lose money for the next 6 months on an investment that's going to pay out 20-fold in 3 years. That would actually help the stockholders more, maybe even 10 times more. But since everyone cares about these 3-month periods, you say, fuck the future, and you have to fix it now, which is actually probably worse for the business, which it means it's worse for the stockholders. And so now a lot of companies decided to stay private. I mean, just think of even X, Elon bought it and took it private. So now you have even more and more private companies, which actually is worse for the everyday investor because we don't have deals to that. If you want to name a Fortune 500 company that's private, if you wanted to buy shares in that, how would you? You can't. You pretty much have to buy like a percent. And, that's really only open to the rich, the investors, the institutions, the banks. So now it's pushing more companies private, which is actually hurting the everyday stock investor. So now you got a double-edged sword. Do you want the transparency, or do you want where the stock investor can see a little bit? Do you want less companies, less opportunity, unable to invest in more companies? I don't know. You tell me.